Hi everyone, I'd just like to share where I currently am with the Survival Elves deck list as of about the end of July 2023. The list did change since the May the May 2023 list that I played in the May monthly for the Facebook paper group. But so there are some changes I just like to go through, and again, I'm happy if you want to reach out and discuss any of this. Send me a message on Discord. You know, I'm always happy for discussions. So what I changed is first I took out the Goblin Sharpshooter and I just played another Masticore. Masticore is just more versatile than Sharpshooter. Sharpshooter is pretty much only good against the mirror, whereas Masticore questionably, you know, against the mirror matchup, Masticore it doesn't have it doesn't need to have haste to start working. So it often can in the mirror matchup, it often comes down to you if you get a priest out, you're going to get mana for all their elves too. So if you've got usually the person who gets their sort of mana engine going first usually ends up winning. But if you're usually on the play, you get your priest going, you got a lot of mana, you can just get Masticore down and sweep their board the same turn. So I find that this is probably just as good against the mirror anyway as Goblin Sharpshooter. I understand that if you can give this haste, but that takes time to do that, and sometimes just drawing a Masticore organically without even needing to go through survival just happens, and it's just as fast usually than a Masticore versus a Sharpshooter without haste. So I just decided that maybe this helped. Maybe of course having one more might give you a few percentage points in the mirror, but balancing, this is just a game of Magic is a game of balancing out your percentage points against matchups in the metagame the most optimal way, and that's what gives you the greatest chance of winning a tournament. And so that's how I generally like to build, and I just feel that this just the benefit to this, for the mirror isn't worth the drawback. Like Maz scores a lot better against burn, against goblins, etc. So also I took out a Quirion Ranger. Now I would like, and this is something I've seen in some of the newer lists that I actually really like. But I've noticed because Quirion Ranger is you know it's good, but usually the second one is not super good. Usually it's good in situations like early in the game when you have an elf and you're not making your land drops. So this is virtual. Like this basically results in you having a dork that one drop that taps for two, right? Because it untaps an elf and then you can play the land again, effectively untapping the land. So it nets you two mana in many situations. But in those situations, they're good, but often they're rare. Usually, you'll just want to play more lands, especially if you're on the 18 land list like I am. And so, you usually just don't want to keep returning your lands all the time unless you have a Priest of Titania you want to untap, or, you know, and if you don't even have a Finhorn Elf or a Llanowar Elf out, which often happens. These are going to be the targets for Swords to Plowshares often, because effectively getting rid of this basically neutralizes the Quirion Ranger. Then it's kind of useless. You have an eager cadet pretty much. So it's good. It's a good card, but I just feel that you don't want to get too many of them. If you get two, then you can't even do in your opening hand. Then it's not very good. You'll get two a lot of the time if you run four. So it's not very good because then even if you have only even if you are missing your land drops, having the second Quirion doesn't help you. So I'm trying three and I'm liking it. Again, the Wall of Roots is the same thing. It's just such a good card in so many ways. Good against burn. It's a defender against goblins. Again, it's effectively gives you a very high mana yield, higher mana yield than these elves without any special treatment. So, and it doesn't need it can work right away without the need of haste. It's good against other Tangle Wires because it can work even when it's tapped. I can keep going on, but and it's mainly because of goblins and burn. This is why this here good against, of course, things like Plague Spitter, Fume Spitter. I mean, it's good. There's a lot of reasons why it's good. I could probably make a whole video for I talk a half hour about it, but which maybe I should do. But for now, I'm just saying I'm keeping two. If I might even go to three, honestly, for cutting a land, which I've done the failure analysis. You can go to 17 lands, and it's not too big of a deal. But I still like to have 18 lands. I don't know. But rationally speaking, the math doesn't really give you the detriment. Is almost, having the third wall of roots might be better edge depending on your metagame versus the small percentage point you lose from one land. But it does cost you, having fewer lands does cost you keepable, like it does cost you expected value in terms of your opening card hand size. So Wow Wisher is just interesting. It's good. Um, I'm trying it against Burn again because I just think that it's something you can play in the main deck, and it's good. But again, yeah, I'm not so sure about it, honestly. I did play it because I just feel like, and I played it in the main because again I want to make room in the sideboard. But previously I was on two Ravenous Balos, but which I might, maybe two is correct because it's bulk against goblins and stuff like that and battlefield domination. But Well Wisher against Burn is something. It's slightly better. Well Wisher is slightly better against Burn. So I thought I'd try it out, and I just feel that like in a deck where you can tutor for anything, having the flexibility is maybe better than just having two Ravenous Balos is less flexibility than being able to slightly for in some situations it's better. But it's a close call. Sometimes maybe the other Bailoff is just fine, or even just maybe the third Wall of Roots. I'm highly considering the third Wall of Roots as well. But Well Wisher's good because it's an elf at the end of the day, and it's good with Priest of Titania, of course, and so it can attack and this kind of stuff. So it's I take out a Quirion Ranger. I don't want to be too light on elves. Everything else, the second Masticore is there mainly because I don't have room in the sideboard. So you put things that are, basically these are almost sideboard cards that you don't have room for in the sideboard, if that makes sense. So you just play them in the main deck. But I do like to have two Masticore, especially if I'm not playing this. Notably, there are no sharpshooters in this list at all. I just took the sharpshooter out just because I think Masticore is just better, and you know so, and it has been it's fine. So I'm just playing two in the main. It's fine. Sometimes having two is good because if you draw it, then it's another finisher you can play, and you don't care if they kill it because you can get your other one. Or if you want to discard it to survival, you can, because then you can get the other one. That's fine. And then yeah, that's it. Nothing much has changed in the main. In the sideboard, yeah, I do want to talk about basically the big nuance, and that is the addition of, I removed a Null Rod, and I removed I don't actually know, but like, oh yeah, it was I moved this was a Ravenous Baloth that I both switched to a Well Wisher and moved into the main deck. So I removed two cards from the sideboard, especially now. Null Rod was mainly there for the Parfait decks, and now that Parfait is banned, I think even it's works out that you only really need one, and having two, it's sort of diminishing returns if you draw both, and often you want to use your Masticores sometimes when they have against decks that use that this is good against now, so you don't want to have too many. It's a good like thing to have just in case. But I do really like the addition of now, as well as two Tormod Scripts, two Phyrexian Furnace. I feel like this really has helped in many ways. I think this deck was always, I mean, this just gives me such a huge edge now against graveyard-based decks that I didn't really have in the past, like Reanimator decks, any Hermit Druid deck. Even now, the one of my worst matchups, the Replenish Attunement deck, that blue-white deck that tries to play Replenish and all that stuff, all those enchantments. Phyrexian Furnace is now is very strong against those decks because it can disrupt their combo of Parallax, Titan, Opalescence by just simply removing. Well, even if they're working on building their graveyard, you can pick off cards, so it diminishes the impact of a replenish, but even it also assassinates their combo too. So it's just really good, and draws you a card. So it's very strong. I actually went to 3 Tormod scripts at one point, and I actually drew 3 in a competitive game, and I was very upset. Um, but because you don't really having more than one, if you have 3 Tormod scripts, you might get 2, and that's kind of bad. So Phyrexian Furnace cycles, which is very strong. Like it's slow at the worst. It's you lose 2 mana basically, because if you don't need it, you just cycle it. It's very strong, and it's graveyard. It works against the graveyard, but it's good against the attunement deck, like I said, which is important. It's very good against the Hermit, not the angry. What's it called? Yeah, not no. Deranged Hermit is this guy here. Hermit Druid. It's good against Hermit Druid because you just pick off whatever they try to reanimate, which is like that card, the zombie Suture Ghoul. You can pick off, so it's good there. But the two actually interesting. It's been good in 2 ways that I haven't actually like you wouldn't expect. It's actually very good against burn. I do play it against burn. Against burn, you don't really need too many Priests of Titania, so you can often cut, like against burn, what I would do is I'd cut probably up to 3 Priests, and I'd cut, because they just kill it, and it just now, you're losing 2 mana you're trading 2 mana for 1 most of the time, it doesn't do anything. It's good to have 1 just in case. But often, like, I don't like Quirion Ranger against burn either. So, against burn, you're probably going to cut, like, these 4 cards. You're going to buy them against burn. And you might, so this is, like, a lot of cards, and it's just something to board in. I mean, suffice it to say, against burn, you don't actually bring in, you usually bring in some Naturalize, although it's not super good. You do bring in this. But, like, bringing in a Phyrexian Furnace actually was really good against burn. And this is because a lot of them will play Lava Dart against you, and this just eats up their Lava Darts. Like, I remember I played a game against Burn, I had this out, I had a Wall of Roots out, and it's like, okay, you play a Lava Dart, but you're not getting the second, the second target out of that Lava Dart, because it's not killing my Wall of Roots, and this Phyrexian Furnace is going to slowly pick it off in your graveyard. So it's been very good against Burn as well. Or they have the Barbarian Ring, I believe it's called, where they need Threshold, so it's good against burn in that regard. No, yeah, they had it's good against Grim Lavamancer too, because you just you eat a card a turn, and if you don't play anything, this lets you you play a Wall of Roots or something, survive a Wall of Roots. Their Lavamancer's not picking any of this off, and then you just sit there for a bit and you just eat through all the cards in their graveyard until you draw, and then they don't get as many Grim Lavamancer uses either. So it's been very good against. This has actually given me an edge in burn, which is something I didn't expect, actually. So it makes me like the card even more. So the other reason why I think it's good is now I did lose, unfortunately, a game. I did join a Magic Online monthly, and I lost against Pablo, which, I mean, I don't feel too bad about it. But again, it's also been hard to play because I've been pretty much brain dead from having a kid, which is why I'm sort of late making these videos. But it's very good. I think there's this green-red deck where they just try to... It's like a deck made to hate elves. They have, like, Shard Phoenix. They've got Lava Dart, Slice and Dice. It's like a deck designed to basically beat elves. And I did lose to it, but Phyrexian Furnace is very good against that matchup too, because against Oath of Druids, you're slowly picking off. You can pick off their, if they deck things, you can pick those off. So it's important. While their Gaia's Blessings on the stack, you can potentially pick off even enough Gaia's Blessings they can't keep respawning. So it's It's helpful. It gets rid of the Shard Phoenix too, so it's very helpful in those matchups as well. And it just serves as a way of you sort of storing some cards without having to play Elves, and it lets you play the game more conservatively. So I really like this card, and I'm happy to keep two of them in the deck. Anyway, that's all for today. So if you have any other suggestions or anything that I might consider to change, again, right now I am very much considering a third Wall of Roots. This is probably one of the best cards in the deck, and just because of the mana yield it gives, and I think just cutting a forest for a Wall of Roots might actually be reasonable. Just the only issue is it's 18 lands. It's more of an emotional decision than anything. If it just when I don't get enough lands, I just feel bad. Maybe I should have run the 18th, but I don't think it gives you a noticeable percentage point difference from my analysis. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm looking at a lot of hands where I draw too many lands too. So, again, you got to look at it from that side. I did the stat calculations. So I have shown that I don't believe it's very negligible, the difference between 17 lands. So I do believe I might consider the 17th land just for and play another creature again. It's very powerful because we're a survival deck, and just having the options with the creatures, it really can help. So anyway, please again leave a comment or reach out to me on Discord and like and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. All right, thank you.